Okay, thank you very much, everybody, for joining us. I think we're going to make a start. So, in case you're not sure,
move the mic a little closer.
In case you're not sure, this event is Kobold Press Games, and hopefully you're all here to hear about what we do. Before we start, I would like to say thank you very much to Kobold Press for sponsoring the tabletop track. Thank you very much, Kobold Press. You're very welcome. It's really important for companies to support things like this so we can get other people in and cover their costs and talk to you about all the exciting projects that they're working on. I am T. Alexander Stangrim. I'm the COO of Kobold Press. Chief Cat Wrangler. I'm responsible for making sure that the company works in all of the confusing and interesting ways that don't involve actually writing and drawing. As well as doing that, I am a professional game master and game designer. Recently, you will have seen my work in Keys from the Golden Vault by Wizard of the Coast, some of the adventure work there, and the brand new Modifius Dreams and Machines IP. I did the world building for that. My pronouns are he, him, and I am joined today by two friends of Kobold Press.
Hi, I'm Sarah Madsen, she, her. I am an author and freelance game designer. You actually probably, if you like Kobold Press, you've seen me in various things, Cities and Towns, Waste of Chaos, Tome of Beasts 3, all sorts of stuff. I also am in Keys from the Golden Vault and Candlekeep Mysteries from Wizards of the Coast and a whole bunch of other stuff, so yeah.
Very cool. Hey everyone, I'm Sean Banerjee. I'm the CEO of the Word Refinery, which is a publishing partner with the Tales of the Valiant system. Black Flag role-playing.
Yes.
Black Flag role-playing is the system.
We'll mention that at some point later, probably.
Maybe.
Other than that, you've seen my work as an editor in Flea Mortals, a number of the Transformers, Power Rangers, and G.I. Joe books from Renegade, and some of the World of Darkness stuff as well. So that's me. They, them. And I appreciate you asking for permission visually about your pronouns. That was great. Checking in, am I allowed to have them? That's good.
Yeah, no, it's good. Yeah. So, Kobold Press. So we've been around a little while. I think it was our 16th birthday this year.
Yes.
Good. I'm looking to somebody who doesn't work for the company to tell us how old we are. So what we're going to do is we're going to run through, for those of you who have hopefully been dragged along by significant others and said, let's learn about stuff. We're going to run through some of our big name titles that you might hopefully know us from. And then we're going to touch on our Q4 and Q1 releases for next year. We're going to keep that fairly light. I don't want this to be a 1-hour infomercial. I left my mop in my hotel room, so I can't bring that out and explain how that works. And then what we're going to do is once we run through that, we're going to open this up into a Q&A. And we're not going to limit it. It's going to be tabletop publishing, crowdfunding, sensitivity consultancy, and why that's important. Pretty much anything you bring to the table. We will try and get through as many questions as we can. There are a lot of you, which is fantastic to see. So, without too much of ado, we'll start. We make monster books. And we keep making monster books because you keep buying them. So we brought out Tome of Beasts about 10 years ago. We then brought out Tome of Beasts 2 and decided to call it Creature Codex, just to confuse you. So then Tome of Beasts 2 is the third in the Tome of Beasts line, and then Tome of Beasts 3 is the fourth. We do them in pocket editions, and that's lovely. It's
like the Final Fantasy games have like a Japan numbering and a US number. 100%, same.
Yeah, we just keep rebooting them and using the same title for every single reboot, like God of War. Yeah. We brought out the Deep Magic book, which was a fantastically popular range, which was a collection of 700 different spells across different spellcasting groupings. So we didn't want to specify by like clerics and wizards. It was blood magic, clockwork magic, time magic, so you could sort of tease players with specific type of things. There was also an interesting section about magic only for the GM, like apocalypse magic, which the players probably shouldn't be given. If you give them the red button, they're going to press the red button. So, Vault of Magic was our big book of magical items, arms and armors, Tome of Heroes, gunpowder, black powder. Did you work on?
I was in Tome of Heroes, but I didn't do the black powder stuff.
So what did you do in Tome of Heroes?
I forget. What was that? Yeah. I did a bunch of stuff, and it was really good and
all of it was
inspiring,
cool.
and it was great and brilliant, and yes,
It was the best part, really.
It was the best part. Yeah.
No, you should check out the black powder rules purely because we used exploding dice. So when you roll your damage, if any of the dice are the highest number, you get to roll up to your proficiency bonus. But it's any of the dice. So if you are a rogue with sneak attack and you put a flintlock pistol in someone's back and pull, it's going to get very messy very quickly. This is interesting. Who has read any of the Kobold Guide series or knows what the Kobold Guide series is? The fact that there are so few hands really sort of is quite telling, because it's not a game book. So you've come to a convention, you are going and sitting on panels, and you are listening to experts talk about subject matter, whatever that is. That is what the Kobold Guide series are. They're effectively TED Talks, like a dozen TED Talks in every book, and every book is on a theme, be it how to world build, how to create interesting plots and campaigns to take your players on a story over there. We've had monsters and why they're important, not just their bags of hit points, but that, why do they affect the infrastructure, and why, does the local community band around these things. We have the Kobold Guide to Game Mastering, which is a fantastic book, and it's perfectly okay for you to buy for yourself. It is a little passive aggressive if you buy it for your DM. You still should, but it is a little.
Perfect product.
Yeah. You'd be like, oh, this is useful, and it's made me angry.
Thank you so much for the 4-year campaign you just ran for me. Now that we're done.
Yes. I got a Christmas present a few years ago from a DM in a game I play, and it was a book on how to build better character backgrounds.
And that's what started him in the industry.
And that nearly came to blows. That was like, them's fighting words. Okay, let's talk about the stuff that, some of this has been to Kickstarter, so some of you, hopefully, those of you who keep coming back will already be aware of this. I'm going to look at you, Sarah. Waste of Chaos. Why don't you tell us a little bit about Waste of Chaos?
Oh boy, Waste of Chaos is basically a toolkit, I guess, for GMs who want to run games in ridiculously chaotic wastelands. So it's blasted lands, places that have like crazy arcane powers that are just running amok. So there's a lot of different sort of pre-made settings and regions. Like I did the raw chaos portal, so it's this area around, there's a chaos portal, and what does the area around that look like? So it's and it's got a bunch of tables and things that you can roll, so you can sort of pull things whole cloth from it, but you can also use it as inspiration to build your own waste game. And I know it came with it has a Tales from the Waste. Is that the next slide?
I'm going to just pause on this for those of you who can see the fantastic artwork. So this book, for players of a particular age, is similar to things like the old sort of Conan stuff and Keep on the Borderlands. So there's ancient buried technology, there's elder god cults. What we can see here is a delightful void-bound warlock who has decided to enter a pact with malevolent entropy. And there are legally distinct venom tendrils coming from them, as well as the black goat priestess. But, as Sarah mentioned, that's the Waste of Chaos.
Oh, they're fancy covers.
Limited edition.
They're so
cover,
good.
shiny. The pictures don't do them justice. They
No.
really are very lovely. If you get to see us at a convention when we have a stall.
Can I say something about
Yeah,
that?
yeah, of course.
So I'm autistic and I have texture issues. This is the best feeling book I've ever. The cover, the pages feel amazing. Buy it just for that. Sometimes I'll just at night I'll be like,
It's
rub
all
it.
foil. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's like shiny foil.
yeah,
outside.
it's pretty or whatever.
Yeah, Tales from the Waste.
Tales from the Waste. There we go. Oh, sorry, I skipped. Yes, some delightful blasted wastelands for you to
the
adventure and kill
River
your
of
characters.
Alchemy. I think I did that one too.
Yes, so there's a warped treant. There's strange corrupting energies, so taking lovely things and making them all gribblier. So yes, Tales from the Waste.
Yeah, Tales from the Waste is a certain number of adventures.
There's that many
15
adventures? There we
15
go.
adventures, yeah. And they're sort of short, brief little one-shot that you can pull, and it pulls maps from the Waste of Chaos, and it references back to things, so you have some pre-made adventures that you can build off of to then pull from Waste of Chaos, and it's
Yeah.
a lot of fun. So.
And they do scale in level. They are standalones, but if you want to write a little bit of connective tissue, you can effectively run it as a whole arc. Who has seen the Prepared series? This has been going on a long time. Yeah, there's two of you. Wow. You all know that this is a Kobold Press panel, right? This is okay.
Yeah, that new company?
Yeah, like the flash in the pan. So the Prepared series, this is a rework of a couple of existing products that we've had on the market for 10 years. So you've got a gaming session, everybody turns up, except at the last minute, somebody inevitably goes, "Oh, I'm really sorry, I've got to sit through my daughter's piano recital," or, whatever.
Which I just found out about today.
Yeah.
That's why I had to cancel today. I'm
I
sorry.
mean, I was told many times, but I didn't listen any of the times I was told. But the group are there, and they're like, well, we still want to do a thing. But especially if you're in a big climactic point in the adventure, you don't want to carry on without that person. So the Prepared series is effectively, it's a one-shot to be run almost cold. It's incredibly stripped down. It's like a single map. There's a couple of encounters. They're great for beginning players. They're great for convention attendances. But the whole point is you can literally just drop them in and run them as hey, do you remember that time when you did that thing? And you can just have a little flashback adventure. Still get some character development, but then the next session, jump back in. We've decided to collect 1 and 2, where there was 12 adventures in each, and then we've written another 6, and we've released them in hardcover. There's monsters in them and adventures and stuff. But there's a character that appears in both of them called Dib, who is a little goblin with ideas of grandeur, as all goblins do. This is Dib's war machine, where Dib has managed to get their hands on a tank. And surely nothing can go wrong when you give a goblin a tank. I don't want to spoil it for you, but things go badly wrong, straight away.
Shocking.
They open a bakery.
Yeah.
If you get a give a mouse cookie version of you give a goblin a tank.
Yes.
We do. It's Dib's war machine.
It's if X then Y. If tank then shenanigans.
Yes, much
is the some of the more interesting monsters. We have the Arcs, who's sort of like a fungal cockroach creature.
I liked the first half of that word.
Yeah.
I was like, fungal, yeah, I love them. What?
And then the Citrullus, this enormous acid-spitting pumpkin monster, who is, and I will use this joke forever, up to no good. Thank you very much.
No, do not clap. I was just going to say it was my mother.
Yeah. This is Tome of Beasts. So the first Tome of Beasts came out 10 plus years ago.
Yes.
Big book of monsters. In fact, we were the first company to do a monster book after the Monster Manual released for the 5th edition when it came out. And it sold fantastically well because players like other options. You know, everyone loves like beholders and stuff and mimics and things, but sometimes you want to throw things at players where they go, I don't know what that is, but I don't like it. Please stop.
That's the best part, is that because we've all been playing D&D so long, and you know the monster manual. Even if you're like not a DM, a lot of players, they just know, and it's hard to sometimes surprise your players. And so the Tome of Beasts stuff is like, but you don't know these. you can't predict what it's going to be, and it's great. Yeah.
There's a Tome of Beast 2 monster called, he's a lovely chunky boy. He's the Ogrepeed, and it's when you take multiple undead ogres and stitch them together. And a wizard did it. I mean, there's only so much you can say. But it's not nice, and we actually posted this on the internet, and Wizards quote tweeted us with, "Kobold Press, what did we do to you?" But we've re-released Tome of Beasts. There's been a lot of 5e development and sort of like understanding of the rules. So we've reworked it for the new Monsters of the Multiverse stat blocks. We've got new art. This is the Rust Drake with brand new art. This is the Vampire Warlock.
Okay, I can turn.
Cool. And that has just come out. New cover. A shiny, yes. Not as shiny as the limited edition cover, though. Ooh, yes. It's lovely. So those have all come out over the last couple of months. We've got a couple of big releases that are coming out in
Some point
this year. Let's say October. Deep Magic and Deep Magic 2. Deep Magic was a title we came out a few years ago. We've reworked that, and we've updated it in a number of ways, not least of which bringing it in line with an upcoming book, which I might mention at some point. There's a Valiant. But Deep Magic, one of the things that we don't really do, we do make a lot of subclasses to support the existing base classes. But a lot of companies don't write base classes. And there's a couple of reasons for that, because it's a huge amount of work, it's a huge amount of playtesting. And then, of course, you've given yourself another class that you then have to support in every subsequent title, so you're actually making more work for yourself. So we decided to do that. So this is the Mystic Theurge, who melds divine magic and arcane magic, and sort of gives themselves more options. But we've done it in a way, for those of you who played 3.5, that doesn't make you sad. Like you're a level 12 character and you can only just cast Fireball sad. And that's been incredibly popular in playtesting. And then there's a library automaton supporting us. Yes, you understand the brief now. Okay. I guess you would call them a plant bender. But this is the new second base class. This is the Witch that is launched in Deep Magic 2. And what we've tried to do as well is get types of magic layering on existing classes. Because sometimes if you want to play something like a Pyromancer, you have to be the wizard, you have to be the sorcerer. So what we've tried to do is we've taken types of magic and sort of given them as add-ons. So you can have a cleric who has access to this type of magic because of other things, but still follow the deity that you want to follow. Whether or not that makes you a heretic is something that your DM can beat you with throughout the game. And we have decided, for those people who have always wanted to know what a hernia feels like, a 2-book slipcase. I had to carry this to and from a convention recently, both the limited edition and the regular edition cover, and at the end of it, I was like, oh. They're £6 each. You can use them as doorstops, ablative armor, weight training equipment.
Yep.
Yes, yeah. Very, yes.
What a good selling point.
We have also, with D-Magic, we're releasing a set of map tiles, because sometimes you just want to throw down a thing and do a cool thing. Not everybody plays Theatre of the Mind, not everybody uses VTT or big drawn maps, and this is a nice little option for you to just try using miniature-based combat if you don't already do it or have some shiny things. Oh, there's this thing we're doing.
Never heard of it. Yeah?
What? You're doing something with this, aren't you, Sean?
Probably. So, Tales of the Valiant, you've probably heard of if you're here, but in the case that you have not, it is the setting that goes with the Black Flag role-playing system from Kobold Press. Both of those things being Kobold Press.
All of those words individually are correct. Together, it's completely wrong. So let's rework that.
All right, solid, great.
So, and this is where a lot of the confusion is. So, we won't be touching on this in question and answer, but there was this thing that happened in January in the industry, and there was a little bit of upheaval. Tales of the Valiant is what was born from that. We had already been working on this for a number of months, which is why we were able to come out in front of this at the time we were able to. Kobold Press has always wanted to support the community. We want to give you tools to have fun and tell the stories that you want. That's what Tales of the Valiant is. This is a mechanical system built off the 5.x system, incorporating a lot of the house rules that you were already in, and tweaks that needed to be made, because again, 10 years is a long time, and new playstyles emerge. It is setting neutral.
That's what I meant earlier.
That's what I mean.
That's what you said.
The whole point being is that you can use this if you want to play in Faerun, if you want to play in Greyhawk or Eberron or Galarian in the Pathfinder universe, whatever it is, but you can use this rule system to do this. We have the Monster Vault, we have the Player's Guide, but the big thing for this is the SRD, so the document that third-party publishers, which is who Kobold Press were writing with from 5e, wasn't the entire Player's Guide, wasn't the entire DMG. There was sections that weren't available. And I'm not talking like IP monsters like Beholders. I mean, there was only one subclass for every class. There was only one feat at all. So third-party publishers had to create all of that content. What we've done is we've fleshed all of this out, but when we hand this over to third-party publishers, like this person here, they're going to have access to the whole thing. So why don't you tell us about your
Little corner of the universe?
that bit?
Yep. So we were fortunate enough to become publishing partners with Project Black Flag, which has been amazing over the last 6, 8. What month is this?
It feels very long.
Let's say 6 months.
Yeah.
The amount of support and information, playtesting material that Kobold Press has provided not just to us, but all the publishing partners, has allowed us to get a head start on making things that work with this system that are also still compatible with 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons or Pathfinder 2e, should you want. Our little corner of that universe is a setting called Kaboa. It is a South American setting created by a fully South American creative team. We ran our Kickstarter back in May to slightly less success than TOV's Kickstarter. Just a little bit under.
Tales of the Valiant was Kobold Press's best ever performing Kickstarter, both in terms of backers, but in terms of money pledged. It was, I think, $1.2 million, so nothing to sniff at.
And we were just under that at $61,000, so which we are really proud of because nobody knows who we are. And it was absolutely amazing to see the community come out and support it. But a big part of that is Alexander and the Kobold Press team being just so generous with Tales of the Valiant and the IP there and the system.
Yeah.
so that we can make something that hopefully will live in perpetuity and continually being compatible for at least another 6 months. Yeah, cool. Till TOV2.
Because a lot of things with third party, most publishers, they don't get to play with the tool set until it's hit the streets and everybody has it.
Yeah.
So we brought a few companies like the Word Refinery with Kaboa, like Steamforged Games, like Ghostfire Gaming, behind the curtain so they could play with the rules as we develop them and as we work on them, so that when we launch, and we're looking at end of Q1, start of Q2 next year, that as well as Tales of the Valiant, Monsterful, and the Player's Guide and a couple of adventures that we're producing, there will suddenly be 10, 12 third-party books ready to go for you to run with. And I think that's the message, is we're here to support you making the thing that you want to do.
And they put their money where the mouth is, really. Like, we have unprecedented access to the lead designer, Celeste, to the social media and marketing team, to Alexander himself, sometimes to Wolfgang, when he shows up and remembers to check his Discord. It's great. But the access has been amazing. Like, every day in that Discord, people are like, hey, what about this? I'm trying to build this monster stat, and I want to make sure I'm calculating things correctly. And the design team will show up and be like, yes, this is how this happens. They're huge, very, very cool for like designers, like game makers, like the conversations that are happening there. And again, just thank you guys for being so generous with that.
Thank you very much. We are taking pre-orders for Tales of the Valiant now. I'm going to leave this up on the screen just because it's got some cool art.
What monster is this? Is that like a missing no from Pokemon?
It's like the end of Neverending Story. It's the nothing. So like, because it sort of decontextualizes everything that's going on. So we have our iconics, our principal characters who will represent each of the classes. They are going to be referred to as the Valiant because it sounded cool. There is, you will see in the bottom left, our Dwarven Pyromancer Wizard, who has a tiny little salamander on his arm. The Eldritch Foundry did some miniatures for us for Gen Con. They produced a range of them to use. We ran 300 games of Tales of the Valiant at Gen Con, and people turned up, and it was fantastic.
Yeah.
And we gave out miniatures, and people got very excited, and they said, where can we buy them? And we were like, oh, it's a promo. And then they got very angry. So we might do a range of those in the future just to keep the pitchforks and torches away from the doors.
They were really cool miniatures.
Yeah.
They were really cool.
So I will leave this up. Please boop this. So that's the little sort of like marketing spiel. We make cool books. Please buy our cool books. I'm going to open it up now to questions. There is a microphone in the center of the room, so please form an orderly queue. Couple of things about questions. We know that you like us. That's great. That's why you're here, so you don't necessarily need to start with a preamble of 20 words of why you liked us. Questions are single questions. If you would like to ask a second question, you are more than welcome, but please then go back to the end of the queue. We can talk on a variety of different subjects. We can talk about game design, we can talk about world building, we can talk about manufacture and logistics and crowdfunding and just so much. The one thing I will say, and this is a content that we won't be going on, I'm happy for us to address the OGL and how it might impact the industry in the future and things, but we aren't going to bash other companies. And I don't think we as a community should really be doing that. Everybody's trying to do their best thing, and often the people that the ire is directed at aren't the people making those decisions anyway. So with that in mind, we have a question.
So of course, my first question is the OGL.
Okay.
Are you going to...
Oh, is there...
I don't think it's on. Oh no.
Carter, fix it.
There's
We-
a switch.
We have a tech.
Yay.
Oh, nice.
There we
Awesome.
go.
Oh, there
Sounds
we
like it's
go.
working.
Yep.
So my question is, since you've got Tales of the Valiant coming out, will you continue to release and support 5e or the newest version? whatever Dragon 1 will be?
Okay, there's two questions there.
Sorry.
We don't know when a licensing will come out for the next edition of Dungeons & Dragons anyway. It could be 12 months after release, so that's a question for the far future. Tales of the Valiant, we will be writing all content for, however, it is designed to be worked with existing 5e content. If I had to draw an analogy, it's the Pathfinder system to 3.5. There are fundamental differences, and it does take a rework, but you can play two characters at the table but use both systems.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Will there be a new default setting developed for Tales of the Valiant, or will you use one of your own, like Midgard?
Well,
What's the
Midgard
plan?
isn't going away.
It's going away.
Isn't
Not
going
going
away.
away.
So for those of you who don't know, we have a campaign setting that we have worked on for the last 16 years called Midgard. It's based off Eastern European mythology and Norse mythology. Baba Yaga is a principal figure. That still exists. The bit of the setting that Sean was referring to with Tales of the Valiant is we have this concept called a labyrinth. Think of it like a nexus point. This is a way for characters from different game worlds to travel through the labyrinth and be connected. So if you want to run a table with a Salamnic Knight from Kryn and a Drow from Faerun, and you can, because the labyrinth is what connects that space. Okay, thank you.
And that's Tales of the Valiant. It won't be a default setting, but it'll be a nexus for all the settings?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Hi, I have a question about design.
Yes.
Specifically, I struggled when using 5e's CR system a lot. But somehow you guys seem to have got it down really well, because I have been able to take advantage of it more than I could with stuff out of like the Monster Manual or Volo's Guide, anything like that. So my question is just how you kind of integrate that into homebrew monsters, and when you are creating these things, like how do you use this original system for your own designs?
Okay.
Oh gosh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
So
fair.
CR is more like guidelines than actual rules. So yeah, I know for Kobold Press, we definitely have our own sort of in-house breakdown of how we sort of address monster design and CR. But it's when you're designing monsters in general, making sure that you're like, oops, I just TPK'd my party, and that was supposed to be an easy combat. Sort of just because I know the Dungeon Master's Guide has guidelines for building monsters based off of certain CRs, and it's got, this is how many hit points it should have, and this is how much damage it should be putting out. Staying within those bounds, but as soon as you start adding things like, oh, well, but it flies, or it has damage resistances, or it does, has this crazy AoE effect that it does that starts to change things. So my best advice would be to sort of do what your heart tells you. No, but as soon as you start adding extra things, I would expect it to be more powerful than you expect it to be. And it's always easy. I do this thing a lot where I do a lot of designing on the fly behind the jam screen as I'm playing. I would prefer my players to be able to stomp all over a monster than accidentally TPK them. And it's really easy when you're running through it, if you realize you're rolling damage that's a lot higher than it's supposed to be. If you're behind a screen, you can just be like, oh, that's actually, I rolled a 12 on that D12. No, it's going to be like a 3. Or you can double the hit points if you realize your players are like just totally plowing through.
Oh, I've never done that.
No, absolutely not. No. So it can be really tricky to kind of get the monsters right, and when you're home, you don't have the benefit of like Megan, your editors and things that play test everything. But
even if the numbers look right, if that creature is always found in a particular biome, so like a swamp, say, and they can move through the swamp without impediment, but the party does, it's a force multiplier. So even though if all the numbers look, yes, that makes sense for these characters and this damage, the moment you have environmental effects like that, it can completely skew what, at a glance, looks right. So just take that into consideration as well.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Captain Hammer.
I'm a dad. I could just put on the shirt. But hi, everyone. I'm new here. I had
Hi,
never
new here.
heard
I'm
of the
Sean.
Kobold Guides before, and I was curious if you guys think the series is complete, or if there's any that you didn't talk about today that might be coming. And how do you determine what needs to be done next, and what I don't know that I'm bad at yet?
The Kobold Guide series is ongoing. So we have another one in development that's coming out next year. A couple of books ago, we had this fantastic person called John Joseph Adams, who's he organizes anthologies for sci-fi. So he's been coming on as editor and sort of heralding the project, and he's been bringing in some big names from the sci-fi world and fantasy writing world, not just TTRPG. So Veronica Roth, who did the young adult Divergent series, she was one of the authors that came on. Ken Liu, who did the Dandelion Dynasty. So they're still coming out. I should point out, they're also available on audiobook if that's people's preferred method of listening to these. It depends what you need. I mean, like, are you looking for help in creating your own campaigns, or is it sort of like reading about the meta of the industry as a whole?
Oh, I would say I'm newer to the hobby. And
okay.
so, there's a lot that could be done,
Mhm.
but I also recognize, as we mentioned earlier, that playstyles shift over time,
Yep.
things emerge. I was as curious about how you guys identify what needs to be explored more as I try and navigate and figure out where I put my dice.
I think it's, as you'll see from the titles, it's about fundamental things. It's like magic, combat, monsters. So we're trying to talk about sort of big touchstone subjects. So whichever is more important for you in the way that you're wanting to play or the way you're wanting to write, lean into that. But if nothing else, if you're looking about how you make the games, then the game design one is excellent as well.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hey, as VTTs rise and fall, because I don't trust these companies to not in-round themselves, is there any desire to make a universal VTT key that I can transfer from the main ones? I understand there's man hours associated with packaging those things and deploying them. That I get,
Yeah.
but have y'all ever ran through the math and thought about it?
Yes, the math is, do I have all of the money?
Yeah. Yeah.
If yes, then universal VTT. It was announced earlier this year that Wizards of the Coast are having a standalone proprietary VTT to handle that, because they are owned by Hasbro, who has all the money, which is going to be fantastic for them and their players, and it will be great to have everything under one roof. For the rest of us, no. Well, actually, let's put it like this: how big is your publishing company?
Like how many people?
How many people? Yeah.
There's 7 of us.
Yeah.
Yeah. None of us take a salary. Like
7 people is actually quite big for a publishing
Yeah.
company. Like Monty Cook Games is like 4, Green Ronin is like 2.
Yeah.
These companies are built off freelancers, like Sarah, who is working for all of them.
Yes.
So even Paizo, with 80 or so people, and they're probably the second biggest in the industry, the amount of capital that would be required to actually do an in-house VTT is out of the realms of possibility for basically everybody. I want everybody to enjoy what they want to do, and if you love alchemy, then that's great. If you love Foundry, that's great. Not everyone will work for every person, and that comes down to, have you already bought in accessibility options for certain things, integration for modules and automation. Try them out, pick the one you like, and sort of stick with it. I would love to get to that point, and maybe if I get 10 million on the next Kickstarter, okay?
Or
We'll
if
do
anybody
one.
has 10 million for him right
Just
now,
like
like
now.
come see us after the panel.
But yeah, I from an industry point of view, I don't foresee that for anybody.
It
I
also
think.
ends up with a lot of like licensing issues, right?
Sure.
So I have no idea what Wizards' plans are with their VTT, if they'll support third-party content or not. But we have a number of VTT partners in the publishing partner program as well, and they've been amazing. But each one kind of caters to a different audience.
Yeah.
And then The easiest way to get all of your favorite third-party content in like the same place is to have a separate company that can then do individual licensing agreements. Because otherwise, it gets really kind of hairy on the contracting level. Now, with Tales of the Valiant, that opens it up in a different way that we haven't seen yet. But again, like $10 million, please.
Yeah, because we're on Roll20, Fantasy Ground, Shard, Alchemy, Demiplane. I want to say something else. Yeah, so we're on a number of different platforms, so it's whatever your flavor of chocolate is.
Okay, cool. Thank you all, appreciate it.
Thank you.
So the last 5 years or so, I've been running an epic tier campaign. My player characters are currently level 50, which I know is ridiculous.
Sorry, that was a 5
Yes.
and a 0.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
I was curious if at any point Kobold Press has had thoughts of doing any, level 20 plus content.
It was, yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, we have a lot of writers like Sarah who will come and say, "Hey, I've got this fantastic idea," and we listen to it, and we go, "You are correct. That is a fantastic idea." And then, unfortunately, I turn up and go, "No," because I can't sell enough copies of it to justify the amount of staff time, because it takes so many people to make a book, and it takes such a long period of time. It's like 18 months from concept to street date. If we were ever to do something like that, it would probably be like a one-shot PDF little adventure where you go and punch Azuf in the face or something. But yeah, there have been a couple of companies in the old 3.x who did specifically write epic level content, so I would say you're probably best picking that up and reworking it into whatever system you're using. But yeah, I don't see us doing that. But thank you.
So I am new overall to Kobold Press and the VTTs you listed earlier. If I buy a physical Kobold book, can I just access it using a digital code, or is it better to just go ahead and buy digital directly on one of those?
We, on our website, the only bundles we do are physical with the PDF. If you want the specific VTT, you are best off going and getting that specific one. Oh yeah. So the question was, if you bought a hardcover on the website, did it come bundled with a VTT? Yes. Thank you for pointing that out.
I think it might.
Hello? Hello?
Oh.
I think it's off. There's
Was
a
that-
button on it.
I can restate your question. Go for it.
Okay.
Yes, I just have a question more to your professions. As an aspiring game designer myself, I've been trying to break into the industry now for a couple of years, and I was just wondering what would be your opinion for the best way to do it in a structured environment such as a company, or a more less structured environment such as freelancer?
The question was, can I have a job? No, the question was, how do you break into the industry as a designer? Is that
Yes.
So, as a freelancer, I have a couple of suggestions for that. If you're wanting to write 5th edition stuff, one of the ways that you can do that is going through the DMs Guild, which is a marketplace run by.
We're off the rails.
What?
Alexander's gone. We're off the rails.
Anyway, it's a digital marketplace where you can publish stuff within certain parameters with the blessing of Wizards of the Coast, and you can use some of their stuff. And people can go there. You can do one-shots. You can do big, long adventures. You can do monsters. You can do subclasses and all sorts of things. Put it there. But you are kind of there. Read the terms of service and the contract stuff very carefully. The other way you can do things is get on Twitter, X, whatever it is now. Get on social media, get on other game design Discord. There's lots of Discord servers for game designers. I know DMs Guild and Roll20 and a whole bunch of them all have them, where people are always looking for writers. They'll put out calls for writers, and either they want you to pitch them stuff, or they're looking to bring on freelancers for a project. If you've got samples of work that you've done yourself that you can give them, a lot of times that's very helpful. They don't always require samples. Sometimes they want to bring on new people because we love this and it's great, and we want to bring people in. Yeah, if you can build even just building a small online portfolio that you can share when you need to, and it doesn't have to be anything crazy fancy.
To manage expectations, as we explained, there are very few staff writing positions in the industry. Most people are freelance, and that's where you're likely to get your first go with the company.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
What kind of design strategies do you use when trying to find a balance between marshals and casters?
For those who didn't hear, it was like, how do you balance wizards and fighters? I have to say, I like that you don't. No, this is one of the things that Tales of the Valiant is actually trying to address, because with the fighting classes, even from first level to 12th level, 15th level, you go up and it's an adventure game. You sword on monster. You sword on monster more than once. But that's effectively what it is. We have started integrating cool stuff that you get to do from the ground up to give you more options. It's never going to be cast fireball from sword, but it will be things like cut arrow from air, shield, bash, and stab. You don't have to have everybody at the same power level all the time. That's one of the things that 4th edition did. And 4th edition's great in what it does, but that's not what the community was looking for at the time, which is why that power level sort of was rebalanced sort of when 5th came out. What do you think about having significant spellcasters and marshals play in the same pool?
It's tough, right? Because you want all your players to have fun. And I mean, I know that for me in standard 5th edition, a lot of the martial classes, as you get higher CR, like, cool, how am I supposed to reach that thing that's flying, right? One of the things that I like about what I've been seeing in the playtest material is he's right. There's more of a rebalance and there's more options, right? I, for my home games, will oftentimes make a custom magic item or custom ability or whatever to level that out. But it's a difficult strategy. I also have like Evocation Wizard, who only casts support spells for some reason. Like, really, it comes down to, at the table, balancing it so that your players have fun. From a design perspective, giving as many of those tools to the GMs and players as possible.
Yep. I just played in a game where we went to level 20 and we had a level 20 champion fighter, and she was bananas. Like,
yeah.
We had also a warlock and a cleric, and I played a rogue, but like, just because she would just tear through things. If she could reach them, they were dead.
If she could reach them.
If she could reach them. But then again, like you said, like, giving magic items or, spell scrolls or buffs or, special little things so that, you don't get because you don't want your player to get frustrated. There's one thing to challenge players, and there's another thing that they're just feeling like they're useless.
Well, you can tailor it to what you know your player wants to do, right? So, like, I have a friend. She only plays barbarians. All she wants to do is hit things with a big axe or a big hammer. She's flexible on that. So I straight up stole this from Critical Role for my home game. Just gave her the ability to, like, portal through and slam things that are like 800 feet in the air, and then portal back to the ground. And I was like, and she was overjoyed. And I was like, great, good, everyone's happy, and you can hit the things, and I can have environmental situations that aren't just on the ground. I don't have to find a reason to ground my ancient black dragon or whatever.
I was wondering with so many companies coming out and just so many more game systems being readily available to the entirety of the tabletop community now, the Kobold Press one-shots and everything are just the peak of everything, and just where you can anywhere, anytime, in newbie, pro, no matter what, just get to a table and roll dice. So I was wondering, with Gen Con being the Paizoverse expansion with Starfinder compatibility with Pathfinder and Monty Cook's big push with the Cypher system, was there any plans to bring those one-shots to those systems, or to
just even dev new one-shots for those systems?
We used to support a number, so we've been a third-party publisher since we were incepted, and we've supported a number of different systems, Pathfinder First Edition, 13th Age I think we did at one point, and 5th Edition. Our focus is now on Tales of the Valiant, but we have very, very close connections with those companies that you mentioned.
Because I remember you guys had signed on under the Orc license.
Well,
or to work with the Orc license to a degree.
Wolfgang is actually the originator of the Orc license.
Yeah.
So he and Alex Kammer were the initial people actually progressing this. Paizo's put the money behind it and actually helped develop it, but it is Wolfgang and Alex who are like doing that. So we are looking to potentially work with other companies, but because we are a first party, effectively what would happen is Paizo would say, we're going to release an adventure in our world using Tales of the Valiant in the same way they've just done the Kingmaker rework for 5th edition.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
5 minutes.
We've got 5 minutes, so we've got 2 more questions and then we're done. We'll do closeouts.
So, on the comment earlier about DM Guild, for independent writers who want to write adventures and subclasses and sell that, I was under the impression DM Guild was WotC and Drive Through RPG is everyone else.
Yes.
For Tales of the Valiant specifically, if we want to write stuff for it, where are you going to build a system that we can sell it, or how is that going?
So later this year, we will be releasing a publisher's kit, which will explain all of that. Because licensing is complex and you can get yourself into trouble without meaning to. So we will be talking about what you need to do, what content needs to go into your books to make yourself legally compliant. So please follow all the social media and we will be announcing that in a couple of months.
Awesome, thank you.
You're very welcome.
Shall I wait for the microphone?
No, I'll repeat it.
Okay. In order to get players more invested into the RP of games and to be more invested in their characters, does Tales of the Valiant or any of the systems you have previously have any permanent character modifications that they could affect? Like, I know there are some homebrew things that are like the grievous wounds or scars. I know Candela Obscura has something like a scar thing where that changes your character permanently going forward. Do you have any ideas or suggestions of things that are already existing?
The base question is there a mechanical way to encourage roleplay and have longer lasting effects on your characters? Is that a good summary?
Yes.
Yeah.
Great.
Simply yes, you can give any ability you want to any character because of a tattoo that now gives them access to a spell once per day. What I would say is that disability in role-playing games that then equates to negative impacts on characters is problematic and has been used, like, disability, like, oh, they're the villain because of X. So if you are having fundamental effects, it's more a reflavoring rather than a diminishing of those characters.
Not necessarily a disability, but like a changing of character, whereas before a character was skilled or loved, I don't know, like a ranger loved their terrain of the forest. Something happens where that is no longer a thing, and
no, absolutely, you are in control of the game. Like Deus Ex Machina, you can have a priest gain access to a domain that they wouldn't have been able to do because of in-plot cool reasons.
Okay. Go ahead.
The thing about sort of role-playing is that sometimes when we write the books, what we're doing is giving you the permission to do the things that you could already do. And sometimes we have to actually write that because a lot of people are nervous about making those changes. But yeah, it rewards your players.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm afraid that's the last question. We have run out of time. Thank you very much, everybody. So we will do a quick outro. So for my panelists.
Hi. Bye. I'm Sarah Madsen. This is the only panel I am on this weekend, so you can catch me online at Unfettered Muse on Twitter, unfetteredmuse.com, and yeah.
I'm Sean Banerjee. I'm at Sean Banerjee everywhere. You can also find at The Word Refinery. Thank you all for coming. I'm on no panels this weekend.
I have been and continue to be T. Alexander Sangram, COO of Kobold Press. You can find me on that burning to the ground hell site at TA_Stangram. We have next week, I think, we're launching a brand new Kickstarter, and it wasn't mentioned on here. So it's part of the Campaign Builder line. It's Campaign Builder Castles and Crowns, giving you the tool sets for noble lineages and royal magics and political intrigue. Please follow us on the Notify Me page. In fact, there is a QR code outside that will take you through to that Notify Me on launch page. Tales of the Valiant is coming out end of Q1, start of Q2 next year. Pre-order is available. Follow us on social media. We have a very, very active Discord, and if you are genuinely interested in Tales of the Valiant and getting involved in the community and playtesting and running games for us at major events like Gen Con and PAX and all this, please come on. We love hearing from you, and communication from the community only makes our games better as we get all of this playtest back. So thank you very much for coming.